So, you want to be an heroic defender? For example, in the early game where you hold your only just acquired castle with all your might, or in the late game where you hold one side of the border while your allies rampage on the other. Defending a castle is essential to master if you want to progress in this game. So how do you master defending? We will go over every single detail of defending a fief, making you a master defender in no time. Hello, I am the Brass Helmet. Thank you guys so much for the support on the last video, where we talked about sieges from an attacker's perspective. Today, we are going to talk about how to defend against one. So let's dive in. I like to divide every siege into 3 main phases. First, we have the building phase, where we build our defenses and wait for the attackers to start the siege. We will talk a bit about preparations too. Next, we have the assault phase, where the attackers move towards the walls. And last, we have the fighting phase, where the fighting begins at the gate and on the walls. Let's go over every phase, step by step. All right, Commander, if you want to hold your ground, the fight starts long before the enemy even shows up. The best defense begins the moment you take control of a fief. And here's the trick. You've got to balance defense and economy. If you're holding a border town or castle, one that faces enemy territory, focus your early upgrades on survival. That means walls, siege workshops, militia barracks, etc. Get those walls high, and those siege workshops build first if you feel an imminent threat. But if your fief sits deep inside friendly land, you can lean a bit more into economy. Things like markets, aqueducts, and forums. Gold keeps your troops paid and your towns growing. But remember, every dinar spent on comfort is one not spent on defense. Once you've got your buildings rolling, think about your governor. A skilled governor can make or break a siege, so I like to make 2 different kinds of governors in my campaign. One more leveled with economic buffs for town growth, and the other focused on militia and engineering buffs to help defending the fief. Once a town is no longer in imminent danger, is when I switch out the battle-focused governor for the governor focused on economy and who is of the same culture. Seriously, watch out for loyalty. It can drop fast with a governor of a different culture. Last, don't forget your garrison. Even low-tier troops can make your town look less tempting to enemy AI. A full garrison says,
"Come at me, bro,"
while an empty one screams,
"It's free real estate."
Donate what you can. Even multiple peasants can make your fief less of a target for enemy AI. So build smart, because the stronger your town before the war starts, the less you'll have to panic when the banners of your enemy appear on the horizon. Once a war starts, your first move should be scouting. Open the diplomacy tab and check the enemy's army count. Try to spot them on the map and ride out to see their plans. Once you get close enough, you can hover over an army to see what they're doing, and that knowledge gives you the power to respond. Get a feel for which faction has more tempo. I'll make a separate video explaining tempo in detail, but in short, high tempo means the enemy can react quickly and take objectives across the map. Low tempo means they're slow and vulnerable. If they're moving fast and organized, it's time to defend smart and play reactive. If they're scattered, you control the rhythm of the war. When you spot an army heading for your castle or town, you've got choices. If you're confident, intercept them in the field and crush them before they reach your walls. If they're too strong, sprint to the fief they're targeting and prepare the defenses before they arrive. Just know, if you enter early, the enemy might shift and pick another target. So keep watching the map and enter the settlement at the last second, just before the enemy arrives. And if you can't stop them head-on, you can also choose to trade value. Let them take one town while you take one of equal worth elsewhere. That's a strategic win. The same gain for fewer resources, but still, nothing feels better than winning a defense when you're outnumbered. When you pull that off, you don't just save a town, you shatter the enemy's tempo entirely. All right, The enemy is here, and the siege has begun. This is where your preparation meets pressure. The first thing you do, build fire catapults if possible. They're the backbone of your defense. Not just the siege engine, but the ammo itself is really important. Fire catapults shred siege towers, destroy rams, and melt tight clusters of troops. While your catapults are being built, keep an eye on your ambush button. Once the ambush button lights up, that's your moment. When the battle begins, retreat your troops immediately and ride out alone through the gate. Head straight for the siege tower. Don't fight anyone unless you have to. The enemy will always defend the ram first, so the tower is yours to hit freely. Break it down to almost zero health, but don't destroy it fully. Then retreat again. When you return to the keep, that tower will stay at a single hit point, and when the main battle starts, you can one-shot it instantly. Don't panic if the town's food number hits 0. It's separate from your own inventory, but you will lose your garrison. Selling food on the market won't work, so don't waste time. But if you hold your ground, the enemy will soon start the assault. First off, during the deployment phase, I recommend keeping your army as it is. Don't overcomplicate the formations. Bannerlord's AI actually does a solid job here. They'll keep most of your archers behind the walls, reinforcing positions as needed. Even if you have a ton of archers, resist the urge to manually stack them all up front. Let them rotate. That way, your ranged units stay alive longer and pepper the enemy from below once they breach the walls. Make sure your throwing units are stationed on the walls. That's where they shine. Don't waste them at the gate. They'll block each other and rarely hit anything. But on the walls, they can rain down javelins and axes with brutal precision. Keep the rest of your troops as they are. Your role as commander isn't micromanagement, it's impact. Once the battle begins, immediately take control of a siege engine if one's nearby. You can make a separate control group with just yourself and deploy next to a catapult so you can jump on it instantly. Every second counts in the approach phase. Time is your enemy. Work with your troops and focus fire on one target at a time. It doesn't matter if the ram reaches the gate with half health or full. So pick a target and destroy it completely before switching. If I get to choose, I personally like to take out the ram first, because a broken gate feels harder to defend than a damaged wall. But it's your call. If you feel stronger holding the gate, go for the towers first. It's all about how you want to fight this siege. Remember, every siege tower or ram you destroy in the approach phase reduces the number of choke points you'll have to defend later. Once they're too close, your engines won't have the angle to hit them. So make sure every last stone and pot of fire earns its value by throwing them manually. And once your siege ammo runs dry, the battle shifts into a fight for the choke points. If the enemy has managed to keep all 3 entry points, both towers and the ram, things will get messy fast. 3 fronts mean 3 fires burning at once, and your job is to keep them from merging into one inferno. Stay calm, move between them, and always keep an eye on the gate. If the gate falls, your walls become death traps. If you've reduced it to 2 choke points, split your attention between the 2, and when one starts to falter, rush to reinforce it. A well-timed push, or even just showing up at the right moment, can make your men rally and turn the tide. But when you've only 1 choke point to worry about, that entry point turns into a meat grinder when the enemy can only come at you 1 at a time. It's brutal, and it's beautiful. If the fighting drags on and they finally break through, don't panic. This is where legends are made. If you've invested in the terror perk from the 2-handed or crossbow skill tree, now's the time to use it. Every kill with a 2-handed weapon or crossbow drops enemy morale by an extra 20%. That means each swing doesn't just cut down a soldier, it shatters the spirit of 10 more. Hold your ground, cut through their ranks, and make the invaders remember that this fortress doesn't fall easily. Even when you're outnumbered, even when the choke points fail to hold. Your leadership and timing can turn a hopeless defense into one of the most satisfying victories in Bannerlord. And that's the full breakdown of how to defend against a siege in Mount and Blade Bannerlord. From the moment you get your town to the final stand at the gate, you now have the tools to defend your land and crush anyone trying to take it from you. If you found this guide helpful, consider leaving a like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more detailed guides. More battles, more strategy, and of course more history are on the way. Until then, this has been the Brass Helmet. Good luck with defending, and I will see you later.